The next tool that we want to work with is called the Spot Healing Brush, and this is going to quickly become one of your favorite tools in Photoshop. It's normally already visible by default, but since we did some other fixes using the red eye tool, we need to reselect it. So we're going to click over here to where our red eye tool is, click and hold, and it's the very top tool. It looks like a band-aid, sort of moving over a selection or covering over part of a selection. This is called the Spot Healing Brush. Probably one of the coolest tools in all of Photoshop. It's so powerful and perfect for the kind of fixes that we want to do here. And our goal at this point is to look at our image, and we're going to paint over some of these other scratches and fix them up. This video might be just a little bit longer than normal because I am going to talk a lot about some of the very specific ways that you can help this tool do its job even better. And when it doesn't work great, I'm going to show you some tricks about how to get it to try again and often get a much better result. So I clicked on my magnifying glass so that I can zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to just kind of pull up to one of these areas. And here I've got this really big tear, and it looks like there was a pin holding up this photo on the wall. And I want to get rid of these. So I'm going to switch to my Spot Healing Brush tool, and I'm going to move over my image. And what I want to do is make sure that the Spot Healing Brush is large enough to cover what it is that I am fixing. And here I can see that I want to fix this whole tear, but I've got a little bit along right here along the side and this pinhole. So I'm going to just make my brush a little bit larger, and I do that using the left and right bracket tools. And I would just want to get it so that it's basically big enough to sort of cover all of this sort of in one stroke without being too much larger. I think that I'm going to just start right up here at the top, and I'm going to just paint. And you can see that when I start painting with this tool, it kind of makes a darker area over my image so I can see where it's going to fix. So everything within that darkened area is kind of like an automatic content aware fill is going to happen wherever you see that darkened area. So when I let go of the mouse, it automatically moves in and fixes it. And as you can see, it did a pretty darn impressive job. Every time I use this tool, it just blows me away. So here I can see I'm just moving over a little bit using the spacebar trick to easily click and drag around and navigate the document. And then I release, I go back to the tool. I like to keep this brush as small as possible when making fixes. And then I'm just going to move around the document, look for mistakes, and fix them. I can see actually up here in my corner that I've got a little bit that it's just kind of like wrinkled paper, it looks like. I'm going to just fix that really quick. Here I see a mark on the wall that doesn't look natural to me. And so you can see that I'm just moving through the document now, looking for some mistakes. Here's something I never noticed before. There's a real tiny little scratch, kind of scuff marks on the photo. So I'm just going to sort of paint over those really quick and have Photoshop fix them. I see little dots there. I just click and click. And I'm just moving through the document. This I can't tell if it is in the original photo, something shiny there or not, but either way it's distracting, and I can get rid of it with a simple click. Oh, top right corner, I see a bunch here. I could probably use the content aware fill, but just to show you that this tool works also fairly well over a larger area, I'm going to just kind of scribble all around the whole area, and boom, it's fixed. So I'm just moving through my document really quickly, deleting all of these mistakes that I see in the image. See some scuff marks here I want to try and get rid of. It did a good job cleaning them up. Now I'm here at my big tear. And so what I want to do, I see that there was some tape over this tear in the image. You can see the edges of the tape. I'm going to fix that separately. The first thing I want to do is get rid of this big tear, and then I'm going to go around and clean up those edges. So I'm going to increase my brush size just a little bit because this is a fairly big tear. And I'm going to just click and paint across this scar. I see another part there. I just want to make sure that I get the whole thing to get repaired in one move. Otherwise it starts to bring in some of the damaged portions and think that that's something you try to keep and replicate. So once I've got it, and you can see how it darkens that area, and I've got that area selected, I let go. Wow, pretty impressive job, right? It really is an incredible tool. So now what I can do is get a little bit smaller brush, And I don't need to be perfect about these. You know, it really depends on the project that you're working on and the purpose. We're going to just share this out on the web for kind of Throwback Thursday. That's sort of the goal for this project. So I'm just going to run through and really quickly fix these. And the thing that's obvious, the thing that's going to draw the eye, is we've got these sort of random shapes and textures, and what's happening is the scar was a real different color. But with the tape is that it is so perfectly straight but not lining up with anything within the image. That's why it stands out so much, and that's why these little scars need to be fixed. And sometimes I don't even do the whole thing. I'll just do kind of sections like this, only where I really see it, because I try to leave as much of the original photo as untouched as possible. And you'll also notice that as you use this tool, you start to kind of see how it's a little softer. You see how it's a little bit blurry here where we use the tool, where out here it's kind of, you see more crisp texture, and here as well. So you need to be careful with this tool and just make sure that you're using it in an effective way, and in a way that's not going to draw the eye to that real change in texture. It's sort of subtle here. It appears fairly subtle. See, there on the arm it works great. But here there's a little bit more texture, and the way it's kind of softening it is sort of drawing some attention, but not enough for me to worry about. So I'm just moving through the image. Here's that white dot that I noticed really early on, which that one for me is always funny, because once you rotate it vertically, it's almost like I don't see those white dots as much. And this one too. So I almost missed it again. And I think it's just because it's around this other shiny stuff. And that's why I always look at the image when it's in bad shape, even when it's sideways, just to help me see some of those points. So I'm just moving through the image now really quick and fixing these mistakes. Here's a pebble that's just a little bit distracting, and it's so easy to get rid of, might as well. Check the corners also. We've got these kind of marks here that were artifacts from when we had maybe a fold in the paper. So this trash on the ground is definitely distracting. So I'm going to kind of grab that, get rid of it. You can see what a great job this tool does. And remember, you can also always just change the size and increase the size a little bit to just have it sort of fill an area. Once you're done, you can double click on the hand tool and look at the image from a distance and look for any mistakes, any places that you missed. I see a mark here that I'm going to want to fix. So I'm going to just zoom into that some. And here I'm clicking with the cursor right over that area to make sure that I get to exactly that spot. As I'm there, this looks like that may be a problem in the image too. So I'll just really quickly brush over that, brush over this kind of line there. And that black part, I'm not sure what that was. And I also noticed when I was zoomed out, another kind of white speck. Here it is right there. So you just click on that, fix it. I see a little one there. So you can see that I'm kind of taking a little bit of time here. This is something that some people will rush through, because when you just compare it to the before and after, it's mind-blowing how much happens. But this is the difference. This is the difference between an artist and somebody who's just trying to sort of get done with it, is that an artist will go through and really just take the extra 3 to 5 minutes to just look over the image and look for anything that's really distracting. So I'm just kind of moving through the image here, and I think that now I've got it all. I double-click the hand to fit my image to the window, and this is looking pretty incredible. You don't need to do this with me, but you can if you'd like. We're going to go File and choose Revert. Holy smokes, look at how far it's come. We came from this really muddy, torn, scratched image to this. Pretty impressive. Not bad for 10, 15 minutes worth of work. We really took an image from a pretty much unusable state and made it look spectacular. We're going to take it even farther in the next few videos. Sometimes when using the tool, you may get an undesired effect. And Photoshop has really come a long way in making this much more effective. And let me just give you a demonstration of how that will work. I'm going to choose the magnifying glass and just zoom in into the arm here. Now you can see that the arm is a very sharp line between the background and the actual arm. We've got the shadow here. Photoshop might think that you were trying to get rid of it if you were trying to fix a tear or something that was right along this edge. And to just show you how that works, I'm going to click on the tool, and if I go along this edge, you can see that it gets rid of the arm. If there's a little dot or tear here, one trick that I found that often helps is just drag in a different direction. I'm going to drag across it, and you can see that now I get a much better result. So sometimes nothing works because just the way that the tear or the problem is in the image and the other elements around it, nothing works really great, and you have to get in and do it manually by hand, which is a little bit more advanced. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we do the crazy animal a couple chapters from now. And we're going to talk about how to manually grab sections of the photo and bring it in to fix it. But sometimes with this tool, while we're still at this kind of earlier stage of our Photoshop expertise, just changing the direction that you drag the cursor over the problem sometimes can fix some of those problematic fixes.